Our education of the week is navigating the AI revolution. AI, artificial intelligence. Um, this is, you guys all know, and Sebastian, who's closest in my life, has been like the second AI came out, he was digging into every single bit of it, trying to learn. And I've been trying to learn as much as I possibly can for one of our other organizations, for this organization. And I think it's one of those things that it puts another layer of complication as you're coming off of a ship. So you're coming off of a ship with possibly a decade, 10 plus years operating in this beautiful, efficient bubble at sea, for lack of a better term. And I kind of see that your experience from coming from a ship gave you this kind of intense military training of process, discipline, extreme situations. So having to deal with situations that most people, I would argue that probably on a weekly basis, you deal with situations that many people don't deal with in their entire career. So you had to experience things like that on a weekly voyage type of basis. I laugh at interviews because when somebody says, oh, tell us a time when give me an example of a time when you dealt with a customer who was upset. And you're like, do you want the one from yesterday, or do you want the one from last week? Or do you want the one from a month ago? Because a crew member, it's this reflex and this muscle that you constantly have to use with dealing with emergencies, with dealing with conflict, with dealing with fun. You have a party every other night, entertainment, how to make people laugh, how to tell a joke, how to ease the tension in a situation, to bring people down from stressful times. So you know how to hire people, how to fire people, you get this intensity. And taking that and transitioning that to land, you almost have this intense detox, because life on land can be really boring compared to what you experienced on board a ship. And so you can go into a corporate environment, you can go into the job search process, and you're like, this is it? What happened to all the stimulation that I was used to in life? But you really start to identify what your gaps are in the professional world, because you lived and you didn't need LinkedIn, you didn't need networking, you didn't need a lot of the topics that we've talked about on our webinars. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, how do I navigate all these things? Really shipboard right now, probably social media is Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. And then all of a sudden you're thrown into influencers, you're thrown into LinkedIn, networks, the stuff that we talked about last week about networking as a whole. I need to go back to my college, I need to join an organization, and it's pretty overwhelming. And then you layer on artificial intelligence to all this. But the beauty of it that I see for a former crew member is that because you've just gotten off a ship, or because you're just transitioning to land, is AI is just beginning. It's only about, Sebastian, keep me honest, like it's been around for a long time, but really, truly, the world has gotten exposure to it probably in the last 6 months. Sebastian, would you argue longer?
Sorry. No, I would say that you're already using AI for a long time. The thing is, like, we didn't know. Like right now, it got popular, but if you go to Netflix and you're choosing your show, and you see that only the shows that you've been using, they are the ones popping up, or you are listening, if you're using YouTube and you are like into, I don't know, crochet, you're gonna see that you get a lot of uh, crochet videos, and you get targeted in every different platform, and that's AI already working for you. The thing is, like,
Yeah.
it used to be a little bit more complicated to program and to use, and it was not available for the common. And then with the eruption of ChatGPT in October of last year, it got a little bit more into the headlines because, now everybody gets to write an article, everybody gets to write a book in, a couple days. So even that it might not be yet to the standards that somebody will argue that you need to do. Like it gets there pretty close, and you
Yeah.
can, if you know how to use it, it's like a horse. It can be a wild horse, or it could be like an amazing, takes you way faster to further. So that's the thing
Yeah.
that.
And you guys have all had the experience, and that's a good point about Netflix and things like that, YouTube, Sebastian, is that if you guys have any smart device in your house, or your telephone is recording pretty much everything that you're doing, believe it or not, that if we have smart speakers in our home. And my girlfriends the other night, we were talking about something, and we're like, oh, just wait, girls, when you go home and you're scrolling on your phone in bed, we're all going to get ads for this support bra or whatever. I don't remember what we were talking about. Hair color. Like that, because your devices are listening, then that data is being fed to prompt you to get ads or to see content. And that's kind of the stuff that's behind the scenes. It was happening through algorithms, but now all of a sudden we have access to those tools. And by having access, that's when it really truly becomes a revolution. So you get the opportunity to learn it and to jump onto the wave, or you're going to get left behind. And so I think that that's really my excitement in talking about this. I don't know. I'm not an AI expert. I don't know everything. That's why I brought in Sebastian, because he knows a lot more than I do. But I really want to encourage that this should be the start of you getting excited about learning about what the potential and how it can expand the offerings that you give to this world. I think that's really, really important. So let's start. I could talk forever just on this slide, but we have actually content that we're going to go through. So let's first start in talking about AI in the virtual job market. So AI is going to play a really pivotal role in shaping what the virtual job market looks like. Because before, when you are face to face in the office, you're going to meetings, you're with coworkers, and your contributions were a lot based on what you knew in your mind and what you could communicate with your mouth. All of a sudden, when you're working virtually, you have access to the world of AI to make you work smarter, faster, and better. And if you aren't using these tools, you all of a sudden will be behind how everybody else is performing. And so this is why looking at, even for us, the hiring process and job matching, this is so, so important. There are so many AI powered platforms that are out there. And I'll show you just the home screens of two of them. One of them is called TalentWorks, and one of them is called JobScans. And this is just two off the top of our head. There's probably alone today, 5 more are going to open, and then 10 more are going to open. Because of AI, people are building platforms that are basically pretty on the front end and on the back end, pulling information from artificial intelligence data places. So TalentWorks and JobScan, and these are basically platforms. And I would encourage you guys, if you are applying for any jobs that, and we talked through this, I think 3 webinars ago, is that pretty much all of the hiring large organizations today, when you apply online to Indeed, to a large organization like Carnival or Royal Caribbean, they are going to use basically an AI-powered resume scanning device. So you're going to upload your resume. They are going to scan it to be able to feed it in to qualify if you're a good candidate or if you're a bad candidate. There's not a human being any longer looking at resumes. Right now, in these 2 platforms, TalentWorks and JobScans, you can upload your resume in there, and it will tell you how you will go through these platforms. So please make sure that if you're applying online anywhere, that you use either of these to have them give you a review on your resume. They'll say, when you uploaded your PDF, hey, we couldn't read your email address. We couldn't read your name. Oh, you had a picture on it. So you automatically got disqualified. or you automatically got thrown into the trash bucket. That there's nothing to be personally offended about. This is just technology in the direction that it's moving in and what companies are using, because they have so many. They're looking at how do we work harder and smarter and utilize technology to do so. So you have the ability to make sure that your resume is top notch for any time, any platform. It's going to be the highest performing resume. So look, this is just like one example of a platform that is out there that if you don't use it, you're going to be left behind. And again, keep looking is that you're going to look for resume scanning software, AI powered resume writing. You're going to look for any and everything. Like, you should be using any of these things to make sure that your resume is perfect. Okay. So what I wanted to, and this is just as it relates to AI in the job market, I want to talk about, kind of go back to the 101 of AI basics. And this is where, Sebastian, you can help me out here, is that really artificial and the resume scanning thing might, you guys are probably like, oh my gosh, really? What? I got to use this now? This is just one of hundreds of AIs that are coming out. So, and again, platforms like this, they are selling to companies, they're selling to talent research areas, they're selling to staffing companies, so that they are optimizing what they're doing. Right now, our platform that we use, that we have all of our candidate information in, we can click a button and it tells us what candidates are qualified for the job that we have posted. That's pretty remarkable. We're still a little bit old school, where we're going through resumes one by one. Carol was doing it yesterday for a job that we have right now. But the future is really going to be powered by these technologies. So if we go back to artificial intelligence as a whole, like, it's overwhelming to think about it. It sounds a little bit complex, but it's essentially a collection of smart technologies that are designed to mimic human intelligence. So think about what you have to do in your brain on a daily basis. It's essentially taking data points from all over the internet, all over anything that's been written and published, and putting all those data points into one place. At its core, it's the foundation of machine learning, because if you think about a computer is just a brain, and computers are learning from data to make decisions and make predictions. So when AI steps into the picture, it enables automation. It enables a process that lets tasks to be done by machines without any human direction or intervention. So imagine this artificial intelligence, AI, is like an autopilot system. You know, you guys know a navigational system for a cruise ship. It used to be a human with a paper map making a decision and navigating. Now, a GPS, if you look at, what is the one in the US? I don't use it, Waze. You look at Waze, you look at Google Maps, all it is taking tons and tons of data points and putting it in and guiding you. It's guiding a ship. It's guiding you by putting more information, and a computer can do that much faster than a human being. So imagine you have a captain on the bridge of a ship. That's one person with one discretion looking at one map. They're taking all captains across any voyage, across any itinerary, and putting all those data points into one platform and using that as a smart way to navigate. So, Sebastian, do you have anything else to add? He's on mute. Okay, I'll let him jump in anyway. So, really, truly, our natural language, how we speak, how books are written, what's written on the internet, is really important to AI, because language is the power behind voice assistants. So Siri, your Google Home, your Alexa that's in your house. It's learning your language. It's learning how you speak. It's learning how you talk. And those are data points that then when those data points get plugged into a system like ChatGPT, or it's looking across the entire internet and giving you content and giving you a way to speak that's so beautifully curated, you can never create it on your own. So these systems learn, ChatGPT learns to respond to human language. And by doing that, these are incredibly valuable tools when you think about customer service, for example. And you guys have all probably experienced that you're going online and you have a chatbot that pops up and it says it's powered by AI. And it feels as if you're talking to a human being. But some are frustrating. The older, antiquated ones are frustrating, but you're going to see in the next year how they're going to advance. And you're going to see that maybe the role of a standard customer service agent, that's going to turn into AI because they're going to be able to, as an organization, put all of their policies, procedures, rules, everything that they have written in their SQM or their brand standards. And previously, they were relying on a human being 6 months in their job to go to the glossary, look up what the rule was about bringing alcohol on board, and hope that that human being translated that rule correctly to the person on the other end of the phone. In the future, a chatbot or AI is going to be able to do that in a way that's much more flawless than a human being can. Sebastian, did you
Not
have
in the
something to add?
future. No, it's not in the future. It's already happening. So there's
Yeah,
already assistance and there's already uh, ways to add information, PDFs, and whatever manuals you have or videos you have, and it's gonna get analyzed, it's gonna get transcript, and it's gonna get all that information is gonna be pulled. The beautiful thing from AI, and this is the thing that I don't know if are you gonna talk about it, but it's about ethics. You can use it for good, you can use it for bad, but at the same time, uh, the good thing is like we have the opportunity because it just started to start telling the good stories about AI and how it's gonna change our life for good. So,
yeah,
and the problem is, there's there's a huge opportunity to use this technology in ways that we never imagined. Because in medicine, for example, right now they're analyzing, doctors are using it to analyze data that they can predict a tumor with 99% of accuracy based on just studies. Because for example, these ladies, there are two ladies that they are like analyzing breast cancers, so they can check all these x-rays from women from all over the world, and they know exactly if you have different kind of x-rays, you have more possibilities that you might develop breast cancer. And that was not possible before. Now this you would treat a symptom, or you would treat when something happened already. And in cancer, for example, it's all about early detection. So models like that is going to appear more and more. So it's already changing our life, but it's going to keep on working on that. And in the
yeah,
workplace, same as what I was saying, from analyzing data to uh, basically, if you look around and you see somebody typing or doing uh, copying from here, pasting here, everything that is automated that you have to do every day, those jobs are going to be a thing of the past. Think about AI as when you were in the field in 1910 and you see this huge truck coming down and you're like, what is going on? And you were picking tomatoes or cotton. And and people would say like, oh, that would never work here. You have to do it, one by one flower, one by flower. This is a human thing. And basically, in the 1800, 90% of the population or 80% of the population, the work was in the field, under the sun, under bad conditions. And now that changed. This is what AI is going to do with a lot of the white collar jobs. So basically, it's going to change them. And it's not that they're gonna disappear; they're just gonna mutate. And there's gonna people that they're gonna be like, oh, there's a truck coming. They're gonna start like punching their tires and try to uh, complain about the smoke of the truck and like how noisy it is and how ugly it is. and there's people that they're gonna learn how to drive the truck, and those people that they wanna be the ones that they're gonna keep on working in the farm. They're gonna be more productive and they're gonna be more valuable for the marketplace and for society because I
Yeah.
mean they're gonna be.
Yeah.
So
That's a
I
good
think that
analogy.
right now the challenge is like you do what you do in a small way and try to bring that artisan to what you do or understand how the mass market, the AI, the big data movement works. So you learn the tools. You don't you're not afraid because that's the thing that will happen when there's something new. Uh, People are afraid and they're like, oh, this is bad. This is, and the other thing is like you can start trying it and you don't gonna understand it in the beginning, or it's gonna be like very redundant. The answers are gonna be simple. They're not gonna be what you're looking for, and then you're gonna lose interest. And in 2 months, you're not gonna lose it. You don't gonna use it anymore because you're gonna say, "Oh, that's not for me." Uh, but it keeps on changing, and that's the beauty. Like this is what happening. That I know that Barbara every week I'm like, Barbara, this happened and this happened and this happened because in the internet revolution, everything happened every 6 months. And you guys, I'm sure you're using software and Word, for example, was changed every 2, 3 years was the rotation. 2, 3 years you will get a new version. Right
Of
now,
Microsoft Word.
yeah, of Microsoft Word or even Adobe. I'm a designer, so I use a lot of the Adobe products. So they will come every 2, 3 years with a new version. Then it went to 2 years, then it went to a year and a half, then it went to 1 year. And now, every 6 months there's something new, updates, 3 months. But in AI, it's every week that there are updates. And this 2.5, 2.6, and every week there's a new update. If you guys are familiar with Midjourney, they coming up with these plugins. ChatGPT, they let people come up with their plugins. Plugins are these little programs that they connect, and they are approved by ChatGPT or OpenAI, which is the company that makes ChatGPT, and basically they're approved, and they let them interact with their information. So there is an plugin for Kayak, so they get to use the reasoning part of AI, and they get to use the information that Kayak has in their database. So then they start interacting together.
Yeah. And
So
if
like
you
that
if
is
you
cool.
think about that, just to build on the concept of plugins, is that all previously the world was all right, software companies, they bring in their talent, they build other stuff, and they come up with versions and updates. Now the world has access, and so you have all these developers, these independent guys sitting out there going, ooh, that would be useful, ooh, that would be useful, ooh, that would. And while ChatGPT maybe hasn't built that technology out, they are allowing the individual soldier to say, hey, I have something that could help. And they say, hey, jump on the train. Here, plug into our platform. Where previously technologies companies would say, no, 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 we do it ourselves. Think about the Intel chips and think about like they were so proprietary and so protective that people are going, okay, if the company won't create it or add this on, I'll do it because I know there's a small population that can find it useful. That Christian, you had your hand up. And
Yeah,
guys, please feel free to raise your hand and ask questions at any point in time.
yeah, it was for Sebastian, but I think he pretty much answered my question. But just to a comment, you mentioned the internet revolution. Do you think that the same way that our parents, our grandparents, sorry, give me a second.
Somebody.
No, I'm struggling with Alexa listening to what I'm saying and playing music. This is what I'm
Oh,
going with. Do you think that the same way that our grandparents dealt with the Industrial Revolution, we're going to struggle? And I say struggle because, look, I'm doing this, and then Alexa heard me, and then there's playing music. I joined ships with a clam phone, and then I hop off ships 15 years later with an iPhone 13, 14, and I'm like completely overwhelmed with technology, left, right, and center. And you say that AI has been around for a while, but to me, it's quite recent, like over the last 6 months, and it's to an extent, it's a bit overwhelming to see people driving and texting without texting, but on the phone and the speaker and then this, and it's just a constant bombardment to all of your senses. But do you think that it's going to continue growing to a sense, to an extent that we're going to feel like our grandparents felt?
We're going to feel worse.
Or it's going to be way worse? Or what's your take on this? Is it going to be way more in the next 10 to 20 years?
Well, and the beauty of this again is that I think it's gonna help us to free up some space too. Like, if we think about our grandparents, they were in the fields from like, sunrise to sunset sometimes, and the times will be, now we don't realize how much time we are like sitting on a couch or driving or doing stuff that they don't have to be with like working. So before it was work, eat, and rest, and it was like that. Then the different revolutions were giving us time. They were providing us with extra time that sometimes we use it for vacations. Like as our great grandparents or grandparents, how many days of vacations they will have, or how many days they will rest. They will work Sundays too, Saturdays. It was not a weekday. Like you will be on the field every day, or even if it was uh, whatever industry you will be, like Saturdays will be a working work, even Sundays. And so it started giving us a lot of time off that, of course, some people they use it off for activities, some people they use it to sports, some people they use it to watch Netflix. Uh, and I think it's going to give us a lot more time off, but also a lot of information that we didn't have. One of the things that I'm very hopeful is about like all these developments in mindfulness and understanding a little bit more how the brain works, because um, all these models are understanding all this data that we didn't know before and we didn't understand before. So the same way is, and you see the development on why everybody is, or why a lot of people are talking about meditation and the quantum and the things, just because we understand a little bit more and we understand the effects of it. And that comes from data, that comes from studies. And I think that being able to analyze all this data that right now we have, but nobody had the time or the capability to analyze data from all over the world, I think it's going to open all these doors that we are not expecting. Like one of the things with medicine is like Oriental medicine and Western medicine never talk to each other. Like Mayan medicine, Incas medicine, we have all this data, all these things, but they
Yeah.
never, uh, they are talking about the plant medicine. It never talks to the big pharma. They didn't care, but like that's the thing. Now, if we can analyze all the data from
Well,
the
that goes to
different,
my next slide. So my next slide is data, data, and more data. So
yeah,
you have to, and I'm sorry to interrupt, Sebastian. The thing is, you have to think of data. Think of every single data point that exists in this entire world. So data is a puzzle, but it has countless pieces. So just like the matrix, just like, think of every single piece, every study that's been done on meditation, on neurology, on whatever. You're taking all of that data and putting it into a machine. AI serves as your expert puzzle solver. So it is, in the speed of light, rapidly assembling all of the pieces together. And for a human, it might take you a really
yeah,
long time to even connect a couple of pieces. I think about my university days. When I wrote my papers, I had to go to different libraries to find different books to be able to connect the data to write the story. We had to go to a university library, one downtown, one here, one there. And then the internet came along, and all of a sudden, all that data that was in independent libraries is now on the internet. But the internet still takes time and fishing. AI is essentially taking all of that and doing the work of going library to library for you and putting the pieces together. So as you look at virtual employment, you being able to embrace AI it taps you into data processing powers. If English is your second language, you should never be sending an email with a typo on it, because in this day and age, it's just not going to be acceptable anymore. Your peers are going to be using AI, and you are no longer at a disadvantage. You no longer cannot get a job because your English is not as good. Because you have access to these data points, because you have access to these platforms that are going to do it for you.
And even if it's your first language.
And even if it's your first language, that's a great point. Like your educational, it's going to bridge the gap. And then we can talk about ethics in a minute, but it's going to bridge the gap of, you know, the people that are going to come out of this revolution are going to be the people that got on the tractor versus the people that stayed in the field. So the people that say, hey, I'm going to utilize these to be able to offer the world something better. I know that I can only get myself this far, but when I use tools, when I drive the tractor, I can pick, 500 tomatoes an hour versus 10 tomatoes an hour. So you really have to look at how you can add value to whatever job you're going to go into. And that's going to be an essential asset as you go into the job market. And Wilhelmina's going to post in the comment right now, is that I would highly encourage you guys. AI and machine learning are kind of intertwined, and Sebastian could talk to it about it if you want to, but Google has a free course that is called Machine Learning Crash Course. It has 25 lessons, 30 exercises. It's about 15 hours, but it's from Google researchers. And if you don't know anything about AI, I would start with this course because it talks about machine learning and basically how computers are learning to grab the data, and that goes into a lot of these platforms. But the access to information is really what becomes so powerful. And I had a great conversation with my nephew about, I think it was in February, I saw him, and he's 12 years old. He hadn't heard of ChatGPT. So I was showing him it. And my niece is like, she's like the rule follower. She's the firstborn. And so she's like, well, that's cheating. And going on. And, I asked them, I said, well, you guys, cars used to not exist and people used to walk everywhere. I said, so when someone invented the wheel, was that cheating? Because before we used to walk and now we have a car. Is driving a car cheating? And they were like, ooh. I said, this is evolution. We get better, we get smarter, we get stronger, we get faster. So you can choose to walk or you can choose to drive the car. Like, you're just going to get left behind if you walk. And that's okay if you principally want to. But I want Sebastian to talk about kind of the ethics side of it, is that there's this big conversation about AI ethics and how you use it and what's okay and what's not. And I think it's a really valid thing that you have to think about.
Yeah, I mean, like, this is like everything else, right? Even with no technology, with a rock, you can build a house or you can break a window. This is, and this is the part, of course, you're going to be exposed to news. And, this is one part that, we know how we get managed by news, and they always look for the big title and the big thing. So it's gonna be about like, oh, ChatGPT did this well, but as soon as something happened, like, oh, ChatGPT gave an answer of how to build a bomb, it's gonna be all over the news, and we're gonna hear more and more on that because it's gonna happen. Some people are gonna use it for good, and some people are gonna. And mostly, that's the thing. I would say 80% of the population, 90% will use it for good. They will understand how, it's good, and there's some regulations that they can add. But it's like hackers, it's always gonna be that uh, amount of people that they're gonna find it as an easy way to get something that is not ethical, to get to a point that is not ethical. But that's the thing, we cannot start thinking. The only thing that we can do is just understand, like, hey, there's a risk, and we have to be aware. So if you get a phone call from your grandma asking for money, and like it has the same voice as your grandma, and it knows your name, and it knows a lot of information because everything that is on Facebook or your social media is there, it might not be your grandma, or the other way around. Your grandma might get those calls. So it might be uh, a lot of opportunities for not being ethical, but at the same time, I think it's great. It's way better than uh, the benefits over the risk. But at the same time, you know, we every time we talk about AI, it goes back to Terminator and the Matrix and all that stuff, where everybody start like, oh, finally it's coming true. The thing is like there's a bigger picture, and I think there's a bigger opportunity. So
Yeah, and I think that from an ethics point of view, I think that you have, and we talk about this, and I know in a couple of our webinars we've talked about it. I talk to my team openly about it. I'm like, you guys should be using AI. You guys should be using Chat GPT. You should feel ethically that with your boss, with who you work for, with who you talk to, when I talk to you guys, is that, oh yeah, I love that, Dahlia. She says this is confirming Darwin's theory about those who adapt survive. It's so true, and I really think that we just have to be open about it. It's not that I'm smarter than any of you. It's just, hey, I can write a blog post every single week because I use AI to help me do that. I don't use it. I don't not touch it. I use it for the base of pulling the data, and then I go and edit it and I add my language, I add my perspective, I validate. If it says something doesn't feel or look like me, I make sure that I put my hand on everything. And what's the alternate to that? The alternate is that humanly, I could probably do one blog post a month with the hours that I have in my day. But now I get to do one a week. And that gives more people exposure to information that could help them. But I'm open and honest, and I think that working with your boss, working with people, is that you have to make sure that you say, hey, these are the tools that I use to make me, and you don't pass it off of it as if it's your own. Talia?
Thank you. I just want to add to everything that Sebastian and you said about the ethics of it as well, because I have a couple of colleagues lately that I spoke about AI, and they said that people are submitting, like the master's degrees and final thesis made by ChatGPT, and then the new systems already acknowledge it. So then it's up to the university to decide whether this is going to be acceptable or not. But this is a new era, right? So people are going to try and be unethical, and then there's going to be a new law, and somebody else who's going to be catching it up. So yeah, just wanted to add that they're already on point.
And the truth of the matter is that, and you guys know, when you look at universities, and at least in the States, and how much they're charging for education, is that really, truly, a lot of young people are going, do I need it? Is it adding value to my life? And the universities and the organizations that are adapting and growing and accepting the technology are the ones that will retain the customers. They're the ones that will keep people coming into their ecosystems. The ones that say, nope, AI is not allowed here. It needs to be original thought. They're just not going to get the buyers that they want. They're not going to get customers through the door because they're not going to be moving with the time. Oh, thank you, Valentina. She put the course that was on Google. Oh, she put another one too. Later on, I refer to a Coursera one. So my next slide is, how do I use it? I think that's a really, really important one. I want Sebastian to give us a couple that you think that are super useful or that you think are interesting. Like, obviously, we've talked a lot about ChatGPT. If you guys have not used ChatGPT already, please make sure you start using it. Just go in there, play around. I create different, we have 5 companies, and so I have different channels for all of the different conversations that I'm having because it learns in each channel. So I have one that's about webinars. I have one that's about blogs. I have one that's about sales funnels. I have one that's about, my son has one. I'm looking at that. I had one that's about legal stuff. And so I make sure that you use it segmented in a way that it can keep learning off of itself, so that you keep the conversation going in the same stream. And then there's also a couple good platforms that there's like Prompt Journey, and there's a couple, Sebastian, you can talk to the other ones that I've used that basically you're only as good in ChatGPT as you understand how to use it, right? So thinking about driving an automatic car versus a manual car, that if you don't understand how to drive it, you're not going to physically get anywhere. And so using platforms like Prompt Journey or some of these prompt platforms out there, you can basically, they will guide you through the questions to ask the AI so that you get better answers. So Sebastian, do you want to talk a little bit about the platforms that you find really interesting?
Yeah, there's a lot, and every week is
There's more.
it keeps on increasing, and basically, this is like, and you're gonna see that, right? It's gonna be like cryptocurrency was in the last, 5 years, or NFT. You're gonna have a lot of valid projects, and you have a lot of people jumping the wagon and saying like, oh, I'm gonna make a quick buck here. So they create like something, and it's very easy to replicate. That's the thing. So you might have one platform that really works, and then people, programmers, because really programmers is one of the positions that is very highly paid. They're always gonna go for the very highly paid, but it can be easily replaced with AI. So basically, they are like replacing the entire software or program or a website and creating a different with a different name and maybe adding one feature, two features. So it's gonna be a lot that they're not gonna survive. Uh, so that's why you have to do your homework before, and it takes a lot of time, and you have to know that it's not gonna be easy. It's not gonna be the first platform that you get. It's not gonna be uh might not be the right one. We know that ChatGPT already has validation, but at the same time, we know that there's giants like Google, and uh, it's Google. Apple is coming with their own technology. There's a lot of other companies that they're gonna start giving some fight in that space. So we don't know if you know ChatGPT will be the Yahoo. So this is what you always have to be checking. But right now, ChatGPT is a good resource. The only thing, that information is only up to 2021. So if you ask like anything about like today's world and news and stuff like that, it's not gonna have that information. In the future, it might have, but right now this it doesn't. I think for ChatGPT 5, I think they're
Wait,
trying
it
to add
goes
someone
back to 2021 or it's up until 2021?
up until 2021. So whatever happened after that, it will not for a period of time, maybe like a month. It was able to access internet, and you will give them some website, and it will be able to update you in some information. But it doesn't. It does through plugins. So there's some plugins that they can get information, but you have to know how to use the plugins, and sometimes you have to have a subscription to the plugin. So it's
And I'll just call it
a
like
new way to think.
Sebastian says, and when I invited him on this webinar, he was like, what am I going to talk about? Da, 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 da. And
I
I'm
still
like,
don't know what I'm talking about.
Sebastian takes all this stuff as if it's normal. He's like, people don't know that ChatGPT only has information up to 2021. And he was like, well, everybody knows it. Because in the world in the circles he's walking in, that's like old news from 6 months ago. And so but for us, we're not in these worlds talking about AI and leveraging AI and looking at the new platforms on a daily basis. For us, we're like, ooh, this is so interesting. Ooh, this is good. Ooh, this is, and this
I
is so
struggle with
Sebastian,
Alexa.
yeah, Christian struggles with
But
Alexa. There you go.
one simple thing about designs, like, it used to be an annual conference by Adobe or by CorelDRAW back in time. Like that, they will release the big features, the big thing is, once a year, once every 2 years, and they will like be like, oh, now your software can like make, I don't know, move the font and make it big or small with one click. Now, like in this world, it's like every week there's a big news of something. It's one of the 4 or 5 platforms that they're launching this new feature, and it's like revolutionizing. So it will all depends on what area you are, but
Yeah.
I'm sure that what area you are specialized is gonna be 2 or 3 disruptors. So I would start like doing the basic search. So
Yeah, like
ChatGPT will work.
ChatGPT, Midjourney.
Bard, yeah, no, Bard will work too because Bard is a Google platform that
Can
is updated. Um,
can you spell
B
that for
A
us,
R
Sebastian?
BARD. It's part of Google. So if you go to Google and AI, it's gonna. Before it was by invitation only, but now I think it's open to the public. Uh, and
It's basically
then
Google's ChatGPT.
yeah, and then you have Bing, Microsoft Bing. So Microsoft is an investor on ChatGPT or OpenAI. So they let them use the technology into their old and rusty um, search, Bing. So Bing was nobody used Bing, and now people are starting to use Bing again. It became like the hip stuff because it's connected to ChatGPT. So if you put out a question, it will be able to understand how you ask it. Before you have to be very specific. I don't know, AC places next to uh, Miami, Florida. So it will give you a list. Now you can say like, hey, I'm looking for uh, air conditioning guy that can come and work on a weekend. So then this guy will be like, check to see if those places are open 24 hours, and then it will only recommend you the ones that work with your needs because they understand how like the human brain works. You need somebody that will come and work on your air conditioning on a weekend. So it gets all these variables together.
Yeah.
So that's with Bing, and then you will get for my area is
Can you explain
graphic
what
design.
Midjourney does?
Yeah, so my area is graphic design. So Barbara loves Canva, and but for me as a graphic designer, it is very hard to work with because it's so easy, which is good for everybody else, but the output that I get for large format printing, this is what we do here in Ola Inc., is not sometimes the best quality that we need. So, but Canva, for example, has AI on it right now. So it's one of the things that if you want to do some graphic design and start experiencing with AI, you can do it. But then Midjourney, it's Midjourney, Leonardo AI, and there's a couple more. They basically, you give them a prompt and you say, I want a fluffy fur furry rabbit, and it's gonna give you 4 options of a fluffy furry rabbit, and then they're gonna be random. One is gonna be white, the other one might be black, the other one might be white with long ears, and the other one with. So then you choose which ones are you trying to, which ones you like more, and then you go into that. They give you 4 options. You go into that, and then the machine learns that, hey, what you mean is this. So it start learning about you. But at the same time, sometimes you don't want a fluffy fairy when you realize that you need to design that prompt so it's more specific. You need a bunny that it has a background with a forest, and you need it to be fluffy but with floppy ears, and you need to be brown, and you need to have be looking sideways or looking front to the camera. All the stuff you start creating prompts that they are very specific. The more specific you get with the prompts, the better results you get. Midjourney is amazing for graphic designers just because it gives you all that. It thinks outside the box, but also it comes up with ideas that really like you don't think about it, and I'm getting surprised all the time. Of course, you get a couple of options for free, like tries for free, but then you have to pay.
Yeah.
Same with
But
ChatGPT.
if you look at Midjourney, or if you look at any of these voiceover AIs, like if you're a photographer, if you are a model, if you are like, and this is obviously what the strike is going on in Hollywood right now. If you're an actor, if you're things like that, your profession will be replaced by this. There's no denying it. So before, you would have to pay a photographer to do an aerial drone shot of Bali and pay the rights and pay whatever it may be. But now
A
all you have to
helicopter.
do, and a
Yeah, to do
helicopter.
a helicopter.
Thank you, Dalia. Thank you. Is that you just have to go into a platform, and think about you sitting from home virtually. You just have to go into a platform, prompt it correctly, understand how to prompt it, and you have content. You have something that you can use. When you think about models, like you want a diverse, you want a couple that's in their mid 60s that are biracial. Like, think about having to use a modeling agency. You have to find the right people. You have to pay that fee to the now you can just prompt that picture and the picture appears, and there are no rights because those people don't exist. They are created people from AI. And that's pretty mind-blowing. And for somebody, and I think that my next slide, Wilhelmina, is about the future of work. What's the future of the work? The future of work is that opens you up to in unbelievable possibilities, because maybe you were a model before, but now you can create a company that provides content that, because you get to know these platforms so well, that you can be the expert in creating or providing stock imagery within 3 hours, 6 hours, whatever you choose your plug is going to be. And it's really evolution. And I wanted to tell the story of Blockbuster and Netflix. Is that, if you guys remember, you know, when Netflix came out, Netflix was they mailed DVDs to your home. So they mailed them. You would keep them for 3 days and then mail them back. And Blockbuster was like, no, people always are going to want to come to a video store. And they're always going to want to come and do the selection process and pick out the videos. And then Netflix really quickly started looking at how they put movies online. And Blockbuster was in complete denial. Eventually, in it was 2000, so this is 23 years ago at this point, Blockbuster was going to buy Netflix for $50 million. Blockbuster was going to buy Netflix for $50 million. And then they said, you know what, never mind. These young kids, we're not going to buy them. Right now, today, Netflix is worth $191 billion.
There's one Blockbuster, only one Blockbuster, and it's actually like a museum or a Airbnb.
And the question is if Blockbuster were to have purchased Netflix, they just would have eliminated competition. They probably wouldn't have evolved. But it's just like, we can be the Blockbusters or we can be the Netflix. Because Netflix was constantly looking forward at going, what do people want? What do people want? How do we give it to them? How do we use technology? Then that's where we evolve. That's where we become better, more competitive, more useful, and really truly embracing the potential of AI by starting first with your self-learning. You take your career to a whole nother level. And sorry guys, we're getting right at time, so I want to skip kind of through to questions, because I know this is a ton of content. But does anybody have any questions or anything like we didn't cover that we should talk to? I would just encourage everybody, look at the links that we sent out, and Wilhelmina, in the recap email this week, let's send out the links to, there's a Coursera course called AI is for Everyone. There's the machine learning one that with the 25 modules from Google. Start digging into some of the platforms that we've already talked about today, and they are confusing to use in the beginning. So start looking at people's YouTube channels and listening to those people that have figured it out, and take the opportunity to do something as simple as revising your resume. So taking your resume, dumping it into ChatGPT and asking them to revise it, and do it. Say, okay, I'm applying for a job at this hotel, you know, the Four Seasons, as head of housekeeping. That adapt my resume so that it fits that. Your competitor is doing that. So if you don't do it, then that's when you get left behind. So start making tiny, tiny micro deposits in these learning machines to figure out how it can help you.
No, and I think, Barbara, I think that the best is like maybe your competitor is not doing that yet. And that's the thing.
Yeah.
You have to be
Better
ahead.
said.
And that's the thing. Like you don't have to wait until your competitor is doing it. You have to do it ahead. So like, and also it's about like who, you know, times they said that, oh, it's moving faster. The reality is that time doesn't move faster. It's just like everything around moves faster. It's just like, or it looks like it's changing faster. It's not moving faster. And that's the thing. How we adapt to change is how we're gonna come up stronger.
Yeah.
Um, I remember it's gonna date me, but I remember setting the first web pages back in Argentina before I joined Chips. I was selling web pages for the internet. I was talking to my uncles and hey, and one of them they had one big large he was a realtor, so he had like a very nice office and it was about like it was a realtor, so they would display all the houses that they have for sales and businesses and I was like you need to get a page, you know, people are gonna go and look from all over Argentina what you have to offer and stuff like that. And he's like, no, that is not gonna happen in my lifetime. That, you know, this is too much. This is gonna take 20, 30 years for me, even 10 years. No, people are not gonna look for real estate on the internet. That's crazy. Like this is like where you just chat. You just talk and you know, he's still alive, of course, and but maybe 4 or 5 years after that, he closed the thing. He closed the real. It's not that it changed that fast, but it's just like the mentality is like not adapting to changes. So I'm sure it was not internet what closed his agency. I'm sure it was something else, but it's about like have an open mind of like this could happen. It could be the internet, or it could be like right now it's not about putting an ad in the yellow pages. It's about like I don't know, cold calling, and it could be everything is changing. It's not only ChatGPT, so it's about like how open you are to these new technologies, or how open you are to what is changing around us, from climate change, you know, to everything. So it's
Yeah.
for me, what and Barbara knows this. We embrace change and we embrace understanding and learning, and that's the thing that I think that Barbara is trying to always communicate in this channel and in, you know, and that's why she puts so much effort in keep on these opening and putting these seminars together is because everything is changing. Is sometimes it's weekly, sometimes it's yearly, sometimes it's monthly, sometimes it's decade, but like it's all being open. And sometimes when we are on ships,
Yeah.
it looks like the world stopped. We are just moving in the ocean, and like at least that's what happened when we were on board. The world stopped for a minute, for a week, or we didn't know if it was Monday, Tuesday. We just knew that it was like, you know, turnaround port, and maybe we will
Cozumel
go
Day.
to later and we will see that they changed
Lechosa.
again. Yeah, but
No, but
that
really,
was
truly, it's and that's I think for me is that as you guys go out into whatever the future of your employment is going to be, is that it's knowing that you are equipped and you're educating yourself and you're getting the skills and you're looking forward and you're not looking back. Anyone who's talking about AI with fear, with paranoia, with complaint, with going on strike, as all these actors are on strike, there's like 100 really smart actors sitting out there doubling down, building new businesses that are going to kick butt. So you guys are going to be the individuals that look forward, that say, okay, how do I use these tools to 100x myself. I'm Janie today, but I'm going to be, what's 10x Janie going to look like, right? And I think I challenge you guys to really dig in, take these classes and dream and start writing down. Be like, I'm going to be the best VA in the entire planet, and how I'm the best marketing person in the entire planet. And I'm going to have a team of 3 under me, because I'm going to have such efficient processes. I'm going to have such whatever that may look like. I want to encourage you guys to take these by
And I
the
add
horn.
one more thing, because I have
One
to
more thing,
be
because we're
leaving.
over on time now.
Yeah, no, but also the proximity is power. So like, being in this chat, or being, surrounded with I know that Barbara, Christian, and everything, putting this together all the time. You can reach to me if you have any other questions. But like, sometimes it's about proximity, because it happened that when I talk to my mom, sometimes about GPT, she's like, okay, yeah, she gets it, but it's not like, and some friends too, like they don't get it. So sometimes if you see that somebody's getting it, then, open the conversations, and like, and start talking, because they have a different approach, and they have a different platform that they're using, and they have a different technique. So,
Yeah.
and even bring it here, and, contact Barbara. So like, hey, you look, I learned about this, and this is amazing. We should, and hopefully we all grow together, because this is, I think, what
Yeah.
Shoot to Shore
Yeah.
is, it's about like empowering each other to keep on growing together.
Yeah.
But I don't know, surrounded with people that we all are open to change, and uh, this is gonna pull you forward and up.
I agree. I agree. All right, you guys. Well, thank you for showing up today. I truly appreciate it. Keep an eye out for the blog and for the recording of this. And if you have any questions as you navigate this, please email myself, and we'll pass you on to Sebastian if anything. And we're happy to help. Thank you guys so much. And look out for our announcement about our new huge contract this week. Yay! Can't wait to talk to you guys next week. Thanks for coming. Bye.